Tam Tvam Vidama Bhagavan Paramatma Tattvam Satvena Sampratiratim Rachayantam Yatenu Tapa Viditar Dridha Bhakti Yoga Udgrantayo Hridividur Munayo Viraga Tam Tvam Vidama Bhagavan Paramatma Tattvam Satvena Sampratiratim Rachayantam Yatenu Tapa Viditar Dridha Bhakti Yoga Udgrantayo Hridividur Munayo Viraga. Please chant. Tam Tvam Vidama Bhagavan Paramatma Tattvam
Satvena Sampratiratim Rachayantam Yatvena Tapa Viditar Dridha Bhakti Yoga
Tam Vidam Bhagavan Paramatma Tattvam Satvena Sampratiratim Yatenu Tapa Viditar Dridha Bhakti Yoga Tam, him, Tvam, you, Vidama, we know, Bhagavan, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, Param, the Supreme, Atma Tattvam, Absolute Truth, Satvena, by your form of pure goodness, Samprati, now, Ratim, love of God, Rachayantam, creating, Irsham, of all of them, Yat, which, Te, your, Anutapa, mercy, Viditai, understood, Dridha, unflinching, Bhakti Yogai, through devotional service, Udgrantayaha, without attachment, free from material bondage, Hridi, in the heart, Viduhu, understood, Munayaha, great sages, Viraga, not interested in material life. Jai. We know that you are the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Personality of Godhead, who manifests His transcendental form in the uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. This transcendental eternal form of your personality can be understood only by your mercy, through unflinching devotional service, by great sages whose hearts have been purified in the devotional way. Purport. The Absolute Truth can be understood in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here it is admitted that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the last word in understanding the absolute truth. Even though the four Kumaras were instructed by their great learned father Brahma, they could not actually understand the absolute truth. They could only understand the Supreme Absolute Truth when they personally saw the personality of Godhead with their own eyes. In other words, if one sees or understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the other two features of the Absolute Truth, namely impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma, are also automatically understood. Therefore, the Kumaras confirm, you are the ultimate absolute truth. The impersonalists may argue that since the Supreme Personality of Godhead was so nicely decorated, he was therefore not the absolute truth. But here it is confirmed that all the variegatedness of the absolute platform is constituted of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. In the material world, any quality, goodness, passion, or ignorance, is contaminated. Even the quality of goodness here in the material world is not free from tinges of passion and ignorance. But in the transcendental world, only pure goodness without any tinge of passion or ignorance exists. Therefore, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his variegated pastimes and paraphernalia are all pure sattva guna. Such variegatedness and pure goodness is exhibited eternally by the Lord for the satisfaction of the devotee. The devotee does not want to see the Supreme Personality of Absolute Truth in voidness or impersonalism. In one sense, absolute transcendental variegatedness is meant only for the devotees, not for others, because this distinct feature of transcendental variegatedness can be understood only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord and not by mental speculation or the ascending process. It is said that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead when one is even slightly favored by him. I almost said slightly flavored. Slightly favored by him. Otherwise, without his mercy, a man may speculate for thousands of years and not understand what is actually the absolute truth. This mercy can be perceived by the devotee when he is completely freed from contamination. It is stated, therefore, that only when all contamination is rooted out and the devotee is completely detached from material attractions can he receive this mercy of the Lord. Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Tam Tvam Vidama Bhagavan Paramatma Tattvam Satvena Sampratiratim Rachayantamesham Yatte Nutapa Viditar Dridha Bhakti Yogar Udgrantayo Hridividu Munayo Viraga. We know that you are the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Personality of Godhead, who manifests his transcendental form in the uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. This transcendental eternal form of your personality can be understood only by your mercy, through unflinching devotional service by great sages whose hearts have been purified in the devotional way. The way, the truth, and the light, the devotional way, the devotional truth, the devotional light, purified by the devotional way. I remember being a little kid. One of the Gurukulis said that Jesus is the way and Krishna is the curd. I thought that was really funny at the time. I still think it's really funny. The devotional way, purified by great sages whose hearts have been purified in the devotional way. It's quite a sweet turn of phrase. In the beginning of the purport, Prabhupada says, here it is admitted that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the last word in understanding the absolute truth. I've always liked Prabhupada's sort of idiomatic speech, admitted. It's almost as if there's a fault to admit. You know, we didn't want to say it, but hey, we got to admit, he's the absolute truth. Sorry. It's sort of a sweet way of stating something. But it's being stated emphatically that this is the highest realization. The four Kumaras have moved. Him. From hearing from him, in the last verse we saw, they're hearing from their father, Lord Brahma. We've heard from him. And now we're coming to this realization that you are not just Paramatma Tattvam. We heard from him about Paramatma Tattvam, this understanding of our relationship with you, this Brahmavadi conception. And now we're moving from Paramatma Tattvam to Dridha Bhakti Yoga. Unflinching devotional service. Dridha. Utsahan Nishtayat Dharyat. Dharyat Dridha. Same verbal root. This determination, this firm devotional service is one of the 6 items that will boost our progress on the devotional path. Dridha, determination, sincerity. Dhruva comes from the same root also. Dhruva. Actually, maybe Dhruva might be. Anyway, we'll have to check the Dhatupat. But all of these words, when you see this Dridha, Dhruva, this intensity, this determination on the devotional path, it's necessary. Yatte anutapa viditaya. Anutapa. Here anutapa is translated mercy. Usually anutapa has some sense of penance or remorse or anutapa. Only by your mercy. I think I read in Vishwanath's commentary that they were feeling some remorse for having cursed the sages. And it's the quality of a Vaishnava. Yeah, that's what, Vishwanath was saying that the Brahmavadis, they wouldn't feel any remorse. There's no anutapa on the part of a Brahmavadi. You know, that it's just, you held me back, you're getting cursed. Everything is as it should be. But for the devotee, they were feeling some remorse and seeking the mercy of the Lord, having witnessed him personally. At the end of this purport, Prabhupada mentions it is said that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead when one is even slightly favored by him. Prasada lesha. Otherwise, without his mercy, a man can speculate for thousands of years. He's paraphrasing a verse spoken by Lord Brahma, 10:14:29, toward the end of the 14th chapter. Prasad leshanugrahita evihi atapite deva padambujadvaya prasada leshanugrahita evihi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya ekopi chiram vichinpam. Atta, therefore, the verse before was stating, actually it ties in really nicely with the whole purport and verse, that Prabhupada's mentioning in the purport that the Supreme Lord shows up with all of his variegatedness. And when we see variegatedness, when we see personality and form in this material world, sometimes we associate it with having been bitten or slapped or difficulties. We see a material body and we say, oh, I hurt my shoulder playing tennis, or I cricked my neck at Sandy Beach, or I had a girlfriend but she broke my heart, and therefore relationships are crummy. These are things to be avoided. This is something. Therefore, one should not be, there's a Wow, I'm getting way ahead of myself. We're going to backtrack back to this verse, but there is a verse in the 12th, in the later cantos, in which it says one should not be overly attached or overly disgusted by material existence. Nirvinna nasakti. One shouldn't be overly disgusted or overly attached. If you're overly attached, then you have very slow progress by the pravritti marg. Even if you're practicing devotional service, progress will be impeded by the desire to perform yajna and sacrifice, and I'm going to gradually progress on the devotional path while also maintaining some material attachments. Or you may forget the devotional path altogether and just become contaminated and absorbed by material affluence and position. So one should not be overly disgusted though either, because then one leans toward the impersonal path. Then one walks away from devotional service. One says, form is disgusting. Relationships are awful. My taste of this material world it's left such a bad taste in my mouth that personality can't be something good. Variegatedness can't be something good. The absolute truth is void. This is all Maya. Form is Maya. And so the verse right before Atapite Deva Padambujadvaya is stating that there's a snake and there's a rope. Two different things. But when one mistakes the rope for the snake, then one's in trouble. Then one feels fear. Then one is confused. And so Prabhupada speaks in that purport about seeing this material form. If this material form is like the rope, seeing it as a snake, it becomes very fearful. You know, I've had so many troubles with this. I've experienced so much poison in relationships and form, difficulties in material life. But when one realizes a rope, when one realizes that it has there's nothing to fear, then one can walk away from it very easily. One can move that rope aside and see, oh, Paramatma is there below. There's a deeper truth. Just have to search a little bit further. Hiranmayena patrena satyasapitam. Remove that blinding effulgence of the Lord, that Brahman, and search a little deeper. Right behind you see, oh, there's the deities. Curtains open. There's Krishna. So, Atta, therefore, once you realize that, therefore, Atapi, Api, certainly, Atapi te deva padambujadvaya, your lotus feet. This is what I'm looking for behind this blinding effulgence. Once I realize I can distinguish reality from illusion, then I'm searching after your lotus feet. Atapi te deva padambujadvaya. Prasada leshanu grihitevi. By a little bit of prasada lesha, just a little bit of your mercy, then I can achieve you. Prabhupada's saying this at the end of the purport. Prasada leshanu grihitevi. Janati tattvam. I can know you in truth, as the Kumaras are seeing right before them. Dhruva Maharaj says the same thing. Tiryang nagad dvija. Anyway, he makes a whole list of animals of different forms. Dhruva Maharaj is saying, I've seen this, I've seen that, I've seen everything there is to see. But this form I'm witnessing before me now, this is something I've never seen before. This is something truly unique. And the four Kumaras are saying, wow, now I've seen you. Now I've attained your mercy and I know you in truth. Janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno. Nachanya ekopi chiram vichinvan. Prabhupada says, without his mercy, a man can speculate for thousands of years and not actually understand what is the absolute truth. Nachanya ekopi chiram vichinvan. A very intelligent person. Or Prabhupada translates it, one can study the Vedas for many years, not get anywhere, not understand anything about Krishna. Because what's necessary is dridha bhakti yoga. Yattenu tapa viditar dridha bhakti yoga. Udgranteo hridividur muneo viraga. Then you can have hridividur. Then you can understand in the heart. You can actually understand. Even in English we have this idiom taken to heart. Hridi vidu. They really took it to heart, really deeply contemplated and deeply realized. Paramatma's in the heart. Dridha bhakti yoga. Bhakti is necessary because that's what satisfies Krishna. In the very beginning of the 10th chapter of Gita, Bhuya eva mahabaho, shunume paramamacha, yateham priyamanaya vakshyami hitakamya. Is that the verse I was thinking of? Yateham priyamanaya. Yeah, I'm telling this to you because you're very dear to me, Priya. But that's not the verse I was thinking of. Bhakti yoga prayojataha. Bhaktosi me sakacheti. So many verses in Gita where Krishna is saying, my bhakta understands this. Because you're my friend, because you're my bhakta, I'm telling this to you. Because you're dear to me, I'm revealing this to you. He tells Uddhava, nasadhayati mam yogo. I'm not pleased by, it makes a whole list, yoga, svadhyayas tapastyago, nasankyam dharma uddhava. Oh Uddhava, I'm not satisfied by yoga, not by sankhya, not by dharma, dharmartha kama moksha, projita, kaitava. Kick these out. I'm not satisfied by sankhya, by dharma, by yoga, nasvadhyayas, I don't care if you've studied everything, if you're super learned, doesn't mean a thing. Tapastyago, if you're performing great austerity, if you're a renunciant, none of these things attract me. Yata, as much as mam bhakti or mam mamorjita, as much as devotional service to me. Dridha bhakti yoga. Everything else doesn't satisfy the Lord. And if the Lord isn't satisfied, then you don't even get a little drop of His mercy. And without a little drop of His mercy, how can you know Him in truth? You just remain blinded. You remain suffering the difficulties and attachments of this material world, just getting rocked back and forth by the waves. If you've ever been in a beach that has a lot of backwash, you're getting smacked both directions. I saw a video recently, some beach in South America. It's the most insane backwash probably in the world. The waves going out to sea are almost as big as the ones coming in. And when they collide, it's just this turbulence that just made me feel like sometimes in the material world you feel that, just that insane turbulence. You're getting smacked coming and going, and you don't know what's what. And it's so confusing and so bewildering. You try to do good and you get slapped for it. You think, okay, let me cheat, and then you get locked up. Every way you turn, difficulties one after another. You're hanging from that branch, it's about to break. You're in a well, falling down, and there's cobras in the bottom of the pit. Tigers are walking around above, waiting for you to climb out. There's a beehive, they're all stinging you, and one little drop of honey is coming, and you're sticking out your tongue. I'll enjoy. Determination to enjoy. What's that, Prahlad Maharaj? Griha Vrata. Griha Vrata. Yeah. This determination. I will enjoy against all odds. Somehow or other. Jai. But when Krishna shows a little mercy, then you either get slapped hard enough that you say, okay, this isn't the way to go, or his devotee approaches you and you get a little sense of a little spark, something lights up. It's so interesting how one can get every advantage in life and still be distracted from the absolute truth, from the purpose of life. I've just thought what a good fortune it is. The failed yogi comes back in a devotee family, a family of brahmanas or an aristocratic family, and is given every advantage, and still material energy is so strong, still our consciousness gets diverted. I can live 5 minutes away from the temple, from nice devotees, and even so close, difficulties are there, distractions are there. I'm still looking for it to this day. Maybe some Bengali devotee will be able to tell me. But apparently there's a Bengali phrase that says, Maya enters into the bell, the pujari bell. Even so close to the deities, even on the altar, still a moment of inattention. Dridha bhakti yoga. So important to be so focused. Then whether you have every advantage in life or whether you have no advantage in life. Katanchana smrite yasmin, duskaram sukaram bhave. By remembering Krishna, all the difficult things become very easy. Vismritya viparitansya. And forgetting Krishna is just the opposite. Even very easy things become so difficult. The simplest task becomes so difficult. It's interesting actually, that verse that I quoted, Nirvinna nasakti nasakto bhakti yoga. It's quoted, Prabhupada quotes it in Nectar of Devotion, but he states it differently. He says that one who's, why should I misquote Prabhupada?
He says it differently from Rupa Goswami.
Is that, you know which part I'm talking about, Maharaj?
I don't know where it is in the Bhagavatam. I was going to ask you that.
It's 11:28. 11, chapter 20, text 8.
Oh.
So the verse says, if somehow or other by good fortune one develops faith, yadrichaya, somehow or other gets this good fortune, little mercy, in hearing and chanting my glories, such a person, being neither very disgusted with nor attached to material life, should achieve perfection through the path of loving devotion to me. So neither disgusted nor attached to material life. Na nirvinno, na atisakto. But then in Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada says, if I find it, yes. This attraction to Krishna, so this is chapter 3, eligibility of the candidate for accepting devotional service, which is the topic today. What is the eligibility of the 4 Kumaras? They've shown up, they're Brahmavadis, they have this desire to meet with the Lord. They curse the 2 doorkeepers. They say, there's enmity, there's envy here that's misplaced in Vaikuntha. Here there shouldn't be any envy. There shouldn't be any anger as they slowly get more and more angry. And therefore you deserve to be in the world of duality. You deserve to go down to the material world. And Krishna shows up. They smell the tulsi on his lotus feet. They see his divine consort. Before they had no understanding of Krishna's internal energy. He had this Brahman conception. He shows up with Lakshmi. Maharaj had mentioned it in his class, and then my grandma told me about it later, and then I read it in Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary. Really nice description of why Narayan shows up with Lakshmi. And now suddenly they have this eligibility for devotional service. They've moved from this Jnane Prayas Mudapasya Namanta Eva to a platform of engaging in devotional service. So this attraction for Krishna consciousness in association with pure devotees is the sign of great fortune. Yadrichaya, somehow or other, get this fortune. It is confirmed by Lord Chaitanya that only fortunate persons, by the mercy of both a bona fide spiritual master and Krishna, will get the seed of devotional service. In this connection, Lord Krishna says in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse 8, "My dear Uddhava, only by exceptional fortune does someone become attracted to me." And then here's where it's different. Nanirvirno nati sakto. So neither by being overly attached, neither by being overly disgusted with, nor overly attached to material life. Prabhupada says, even if one is not completely detached from fruitive activities, even if one is not disgusted by material life, or is not completely attached to devotional service, such service is quickly effective. There's a really sort of a beautiful twist on it. Yeah, Maharaj.
In his commentary on this verse in Bhakti-rasam, where it comes up in that chapter in Bhakti-rasam, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Nati Sakta means devoid of extreme attachment to body, house, and family. Nirvinna, not detached, means that if the person is completely disgusted with sense objects, he's qualified for jnana, not bhakti.
Yeah, if one is completely disgusted with sense objects, then he only qualifies for Gyan, because he's disgusted with family, household. His relationships disgust him. But this little twist of Prabhupada applying Nati Sakto to Bhakti Yoga. So the next line is Bhakti Yoga Syasiddhidaha. Sasiddhidaha. One quickly achieves perfection. Prabhupada says, even if he's not completely attached to devotional service, just a little bit, just something. He comes and eats the Sunday feast and says, "Oh, this tastes good." A little appreciation. Adav Shraddha. Somehow, a little Sharanagati. If you just have a little bit of faith, Oh, these people are nice. Oh, what are they up to? Even if you show up to beat the devotees up, and then, what was Guru Kripa, right? He saw in the newspaper or something that the devotees were building the Ratha cart, and he thought, who are these weird people? I'm going to go beat them up. I'm going to go see what they're about. Next thing you know, Jayananda's got him helping build the cart. Amazing. The mercy, just a little bit of faith, just a little bit of service, and suddenly you get boosted on this devotional path. So these four Kumaras, just unimaginable mercy, somehow or other, by good fortune. They had heard from their father, but now they're Janati Tattvam Bhagavan Mahimna. They're realizing the Lord directly. Sattvena, by your form of pure goodness. My spiritual master is planning to visit Hawaii. He's confirming the dates. So he sent me a very brief message, just a couple words. A date and good, ? And I just replied, Shuddha good. Good means it can be mixed with passion and ignorance. This is Shuddha, purely good. Sattvena. There's no contamination. Prabhupada mentions that in the purport. Even when you find goodness in this material world, there's some contamination of passion and ignorance. Any comments, questions? Beautiful discussions?
I had one.
Realizations? Yes.
Well, what I found interesting was when Vishnu was mentioned having so much wealth, on him, and then they talked about variegatedness, and so I didn't quite understand what the meaning of variegatedness is, because then it continued to talk about different things, but also that Krishna and our depiction of God is always decorated so beautifully, whereas in other cultures, God is depicted as just, wearing a white robe and being detached from everything. And that is so beautiful and so amazing that it's not that Krishna has any attachment for these things, but that he is splendid. So I don't understand exactly what variegatedness meant, though. And then you described it as being
Variety.
variety, just in all ways, all subtle forms. And
subtle, gross. There is no subtle and gross, but I see what you mean. Subtle on the spiritual platform, I suppose you can also have subtle and gross.
Like they could see, I mean, we don't really know what they can see exactly, but they can see the power, they can see the ferociousness, they can see the sweetness. Like you can see all those things probably when they see Krishna. Or Krishna.
Yeah, I've always sort of wondered, you know, you have Ugra Nrsimha and when he's tearing apart Hiranyakashipu, but in Vaikuntha Loka, I don't think he's ever Ugra. And you don't get much ferociousness in Vaikuntha. You might get a little ferociousness in Goloka Vrindavan. Coward boys are fighting, getting angry with each other, but the Vaikuntha mood is very much reverential. It doesn't have all of those mellows. Goloka is special. And there Krishna is decorating himself with mud. When you read these descriptions, I don't know, did we already hit them? The form of Narayan and all of his decorations being like, oh my goodness, the descriptions were so otherworldly.
Exactly the point.
I'm not finding it, but it was.
Yeah, it's the previous verses last week.
There's something, yeah, like, oh, there it is. That's what I was looking for. As he came forward, accompanied by his own associates, bearing all paraphernalia, such as an umbrella and a chamara fan, the white bunches of hair moved very gently, like two swans, and due to their favorable breeze, the pearls garlanding the umbrella also moved, like drops of nectar falling from the white full moon, or ice melting due to a gust of wind.
Fantastic.
Oh, wow. Just so beautiful and pure. Ice melting from a gust of wind, the pearls on the umbrellas, and that's just the paraphernalia. We haven't even, wait till you see the Lord. But then, in Goloka Vrindavan, what's Krishna doing? He's picking up clay, smearing his face with dirt from Govardhan. They're satisfied when it describes the opulence of why is Govardhan the best servant of Lord Hari? Well, he's given sweet grasses to the cows, he's given water, he's given caves for the boys to play in, he's given roots. That's why he's the best servant. Not because he's waving a chamara that looks like what was it?
Swan.
The hair, that's two swans, and I mean that's Vaikuntha. Govardhan's the best servant because he feeds the cows and lets the boys play. Daniel?
You mentioned something about like the reason that Narayan appeared with Lakshmi.
Actually, Maharaj mentioned that in a class a few days back, and Vishwanath mentions there's an aspect you're not privy to the Lord's internal potency in mundane affairs or even in jnana. So the four Kumaras had never witnessed this devotional service. When you hear that because there's 9 processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing, and for each of these processes there's an acharya, there's the epitome of that service. Shravanam, you have Shukadev Goswami, or Shravanam is hearing. Kirtanam is Shukadev Goswami. Shravanam Parikshit Maharaj. Shravanam Kirtanam. Vishnu Smaranam Prahlad Maharaj. And when you get to Pada Sevana, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, Lakshmi. Lakshmi is that fully realized form of serving the lotus feet of the Lord. She's always there at Krishna's lotus feet. So when Narayan shows up for the 4 Kumaras and Lakshmi's there, they get this taste, or they smell the tulsi leaves on the lotus somehow or other. Atapi te deva padambuja dvayam, ambuja dvayam, your 2 lotus feet. They capture that. So it's moving from jnana to devotional service. You move from this sort of impersonal, hey, and then you see the forms of the Lord. You come into the temple, wow. That's why it's so wonderful when, headed up by Irina, the garlands are starting to be made again. It's very attractive. People come in and they say, wow, the deities are decorated so beautifully. Look at those flowers. What opulent worship. Our worship is in that mood of awe and reverence. Even though we have Radha Krishna deities, we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have these different deity forms, but the mood of worship is awe and reverence. I was assisting my spiritual master in worshipping his Krishna Balaram Shilas, and I made some comment. I forget what it was. It was something simple, like a certain thing was said about Balaram, or that's what it was. Maharaj was playing Krishna book, and Balaram was killing Pralambasur. And it was just mentioning a part where the demon form grew or something. Balaram was like about to attack him. And right then Maharaj was removing the turban or something on Balaram, and he was shaking on Govardhan Hill. And you could hear the little rattle as Balaram moved. And I made some comment about it, that it felt too much, it was too much to be a coincidence. I felt like Balaram was getting excited hearing Krishna book, And Maharaj appreciated it. But then I said something else along those lines of sort of more intimate than deserved. And Maharaj said, our mood of worship, even for Krishna Balaram, is one of reverence. Don't get too close. You're not climbing on Krishna's shoulders. And so but the point being that Krishna's lotus feet, when you see these forms of the deities. Jagannath is a special exception. In Jagannath Puri you get to go up and embrace, hugging Jagannath. So there's some special moments. Jai Gopal Prabhu.
How is it when devotees engaged in Sravana, Kirtana, Smarna is kind of regulated activities that Krishna purifies the devotee?
How does that work?
Yeah.
How can you become purified? Just by remembering the Lord, just by talking about the Lord, just by hearing about the Lord?
It's such a long process, but gradually, something happens, or he gives you the intelligence, or you become inspired to perform a little more devotional service.
The thing is, it's not a means to an end. It is the end. Jivan mukta suchyate. You're engaged in devotional service. You're liberated. You move away from devotional service. You're not liberated anymore. You try to put it on a timeline. There's no time. There's no time in the spiritual world. When you're engaged in devotional service, you're liberated. So it's when we think of it as a means to an end, that okay, I'm hearing about Krishna, but then at what point do I engage directly in his service? Or I'm hearing about him, I'm talking about him, but when do I see him? Or I'm hearing about him, but when do I get to play with? It's the end. Bhagavatam is the end in and of itself. Nityam Bhagavata Seva. There's a really nice, when you read Canto 1, Chapter 2, 17 to 21, that's quoted in the first verse of the 7th chapter Gita as sort of this progressive, grantaya, this knot in the heart. So I think, I understand what you're saying. I just wanted to make it clear that it's not a means to an end. It's the end in and of itself. But beginning with Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana. So you are hearing about the Lord, you're hearing his message, his words, which is virtuous in and of itself when chanted. And then you're regularly attending Bhagavatam class, you're performing devotional service, and then this irrevocable loving service is established in the heart. And the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust and desire, disappear from the heart. Then you're established in goodness, and you become completely happy. This is the progression that you're experiencing. Not that the activity changes. It's not like Prahlad Maharaj was, he was really remembering Krishna back when he was a neophyte. But now that he's a big man, now he's directly with Krishna, but he can think about other things now. But from our side, what we experience is that the modes of passion and ignorance are diminishing. One doesn't, when you're eating, how do I know when I'm full? Will I do something different? It's you know when you're full. No one needs to tell you. You don't need to get a certificate. Tushti pushti kshudapai. When you eat, you get nourishment, satisfaction, and relief from hunger. When you're engaged in devotional service, you get direct bhakti pareshanu bhavo virakti ranyatra. You get devotional service, direct perception of the Lord, and detachment from all things material. And you'll know it, you feel it. Lust is decreasing, interest in material things is decreasing, and love is established in the heart. Then the devotee becomes completely happy. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogata. Thus established in unalloyed goodness, his mind enlivened by contact with devotional service, he gains positive scientific knowledge of the Lord. And now he's in a liberated state from material association. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced. Bhidyate hridaya granthis. That knot in the heart is pierced and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as the master. So finally you've achieved this level of realization, and that knot in the heart is pierced. Let's see, today's verse also mentions this udgrantayo, without attachment, free from material bondage. No longer tied up in a knot, no longer tied by these three modes of material nature, this extra strong bondage. So, on one hand, it's not a means to an end, it is the end in and of itself. And on the other hand, one can practically see one's progress in devotional service. His Holiness Bhakti Vishram Madhav Maharaj used to say, measure it from Ekadasi to Ekadasi. I always like that. You need some time frame. You need something to think about, whatever your system is. At the end of the year, we make New Year's resolutions. And you see how you did at the end of the year. Oh, I sure failed in that one. I did pretty well in this one. Make your goals realistic, achievable. So, Ekadasi to Ekadasi. I've always liked that system. 2 week. Is that okay?
Great. Like that, cutting the knot.
I love it. By the weapon of detachment. Dardayana chitva.
Also, addressing your question, how is it that these things purify the heart? These things are bhakti. And bhakti is the most powerful force there is. It has the power to control Krishna. So what are our desires? What are our desires compared to Krishna?
Yeah. Bhakti is the most powerful thing. It has the ability to control the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what do these silly little attachments stand in the face of that? That's such power. Such power. Prahlad Maharaj, where are you getting your power? Bhakti. It's so wonderful. Yeah, Hiranyakashipu, he's basically immortal, but when he can't kill Prahlad, in the back of his head he's thinking, maybe I'll be killed. What could possibly kill me? What power is there on earth that could kill me? Jambavan's thinking the same thing. I'm the most powerful living entity on the whole planet. Who is this person? Oh, it's Krishna. There's something more powerful than I am. And then Krishna, I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is greater than me? Bhakti. There's something greater than the Supreme Absolute Truth. Wow. Mother Yashoda is chasing the Supreme Absolute Truth with a whipping stick. Amazing. It just goes so many levels deep. It just keeps on. Once you go down that rabbit hole, it's just endless, except it's nectarian. It's not endless bewilderment. There's a perverse reflection, you're on some acid trip and everything is getting weirder and weirder. It's kind of like that in devotional service, but everything is becoming clearer and clearer. and more relishable, and more wonderful, and more tasty. It's amazing. So wonderful. And prasadam here is out of this world. Every breakfast, my mind is blown. My grandma brought me a plate, yesterday? It was breakfast. It was kachoris and fruit and salad with dressing and soup and chocolate fudge from the Rowdy Boys, and it was just one thing after another, and that fudge was just the cherry on the top, and you stick it on top of your cupcake and drink it with some sweet rice.
Put it in your oatmeal?
Yeah, mix it in your oatmeal, and you just have this feast, and that's just breakfast. And then there's so much devotional service to be had. Look at how much there is to do. There's so many trees to be pruned, and it's just never ending. Where is there any room for Maya? There's no chance. How can Maya slip in when you're so busy? I'm sorry, I don't have time for that. Hey man, you want to do something fun? Yeah, here, you can come join me. So no, let's go to the. I don't have time. Sorry. Adana koriho manayasha. There's no room in my mind. All of my mind's hopes and desires are focused on the words emanating from the mouth of the lotus mouth of my teachers, of Srila Prabhupada. All right, we'll engage in prasadam. Prasadanam, one of the processes.